So, as many of you know, before I get into this masterpiece, I must address first a gentleman known as the Hood Conservative, an American dystopia in the Gulag Gang. They're fine Americans who remember the name David Carroll and sing it high. Sing it high. They sing it high and loud and proud. David Carroll knew about the Negro. Yes, everybody, F in chat for not just Tim, not just our friend Tim from Semiogog's channel, but David Carroll, the only black man on the internet who is honest about black people and how fucked up they are. So, and also the accomplishments. That was the other part, is that he actually was honest about real accomplishment of real black Americans that was worthy of paying attention to, like becoming a federal judge back in the 1950s. You know, becoming a state's attorney general, or becoming like a major political force in the Republican South in like the 1930s, one of the worst periods of all, and that this was a real thing. And without somebody like David Carroll, remember, a lot of us only found out that almost every single black politician was a Republican up until like the 1970s. And so it's one of these things that David Carroll is the person who a lot of us owe for being like, you Negroes don't know shit about yourselves, about America, about white people, about blacks, about anything. You don't know shit. And it was good that he would humble people, and that he would humble people. And especially the way that he really made it clear, like, no, if you saw black women in another era of time, you knew who Claire Huxtable was, and how Claire Huxtable, or even, not just Claire Huxtable, but even Robin Givens as a high school character in that comedy that she made her career on, as the smartest black girl who was wealthy in class. And so she was the wealthy, smart black chick. And the reason why this was a thing is because people like that existed. The kind of uppity or sedity, wealthy black females existed. You ran into people like this. Now, what you didn't run into as much, but started really all the time by the 90s, were N-word hoes. And these N-word ass hoes would beat up sedity chicks or beat up the mixed girls, because the mixed girls, of course, were prettier. And big ass N-word gorilla hand having hoes had big gorilla fucking hands. And they always had to have their head full of a fucking can of Vaseline to keep their hair in place. While, you know, like the mixed girls didn't even know how to do their hair right, and they were still had game on top of game, you know, like fucking Mr. T's chains. And that's what was up. And I like that David Carroll really kind of forced a lot of us to admit this shit, you know, and admit how really a big part of what's going on with black nationalism is the desperate need to be Rome. Oh, we had an empire that was even bigger than, my dick is even bigger than Julius Caesar's. We were the kings. And I mean, and just this so sad, because that's truly the lack of ethnic pride, is when you have to pretend you were something you weren't. That's lack of ethnic fucking pride. And now you know, you're seeing it with all these like white woke people trying to act like something they aren't, and something they weren't, and something they can't be. You definitely see it with the confused Ashkenazim, who they can't be religious because they never really went through a bat or bar mitzvah. or they don't remember shit about it really. It never mattered. It never mattered to them. See this with like fallen Protestants and fallen Catholics who usually get woke. These are people who are kind of the wokey crowd. And I keep running into people like this, like people who had exceedingly bad Protestant theology in their upbringing, so they're just confused. They don't understand shit. They think Jesus was mean, and if you were having fun, Jesus would like that, and it's like, no, that's called your mom. That's called your mom who poorly raised you and poorly socialized you, so you're afraid of enjoying your life. No, it's chastity is clearly what it is. It's loyalty, that you are being loyal. That's what it's about. It's as if you're being first loyal to, I don't know, the being that created you first, and then you're giving yourself over to your mate. They're the only one who will own you and own your body in totem, because you're making it a sacrament. So the Carroll really made, I think, the thing that has, and this has always blown me away, really, ever since reading the autobiography of Malcolm X. So because of so many of us, we like laughing at, the Yakub myth and the, what's the other one? Oh, General Monk, and all these other like crazy pro-black ideas. Even now somebody like Noble Drew Ali, I actually heard one of his essays read out, why he chose the name Moors, and it had to do with the actual unique national ethnicity of Black Americans. That's where that came from. He was trying to figure out a way, and it wasn't stupid. It's hard to kind of get through. Like, I listened to this one guy from one of the Moors organizations talk about it, but then I got it. I'm like, okay, this guy Drew Ali was trying to establish that Black people should think of themselves as a unique group in the world, not Africans. That Black people should understand they're unique to the world now. They're different than Africans. They're different than Latinos. They're different. That we have our own thing that we've experienced, and and nobody else talks the way we do. Nobody else eats the food we do. Nobody else acts the way we do. Like it's that's the way it is, and that, now that I know more about that, I actually kind of find that era of time, those thinkers, a little more interesting. But it was difficult to hash through. He was having a really hard time getting his ideas across. And it really came from that national ethnic stuff like that is weird. It's weird, it's weirdo. And it's hard to get across to people because you're trying to convince them of something that you shouldn't have to convince them of. The reality of their culture. I mean, like you are standing on the planet Earth, but we're gonna call this something. But didn't you just tell me? Didn't you just use words for it? So now the other thing I was thinking of is today was Black Americans. What you're starting to see now as the spiral into incivility and madness continues, and that what really is going to be the tough part for mostly Black people is that there's so many that do believe the crazy thing, like they believe crazy stuff, like all these people are out to get them, especially like the police are out to get them, and really. It after a while it's silly when you really do understand like what the data is on arrests, interactions with police. I mean, you really do end up getting like, no, this is almost as if Black people want to believe they are so inherently a threat to the power of the white man that the police are some enforcement group meant to keep them in control, and it's like all people would have to do is stop paying for you. And now it's becoming extremely clear that's the only way the Democrats stay in office is by feeding their pets the dysfunctional black people. And David Carroll was very important in humbling us all to see this, to really have to admit this, to have to come to terms with this. And especially one of the best things that he really made clear is how all of these black people who say black this, black that, black power, black pride, blah, 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 that they're saying it so that white people will pay attention to them. They're not saying it because they're so proud, they love being black, God dang, they love soul music and doing the Carolina shag. No. They're saying it because they could get the attention of mostly white academics, white liberals, white women, the unions. That's all it is. They see how the score works. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. If they are just literally a wheel that pops off every so often, they will get even more. They'll get even more grease. We get greased up even more and just be a greasy ass people who have to get the supply of grease from the white man. So, and I really like that he made this. He pulled no punches. And I really like the episode that he did where he went over all of the mixed marriages that were on the cover of Black American magazines. And he's like, it doesn't matter if you think Hue or Tan magazine wasn't, like the highest level of literature in the world. It was a black magazine. It was a magazine for the black Americans. And here is a picture of this like state level judge in like Mississippi who's a black man with his white wife, and it is 1954. So there's just this. There's what he really was doing was beyond. It was God's work. It really was God's work. And he's one of those black men who too was exceedingly intimidating. He could have been 5'4", it wouldn't have mattered. He was exceedingly intimidating because of how powerful his mind was. I bought like 2 or 3 books that the guy recommended. I couldn't find the really forbidden books, the real forbidden stuff that he had. Whoo, Savages All, still looking for that one. But yeah, if anybody has a copy of Savages All, I am very, very curious about what that book was about. And so I'm betting there's a bunch of people clicking, pause, click. Found the PDF, bro. Found the PDF. I don't know if I should actually link it to this site though, because who knows who the fuck this is. But anyway, it's probably something like Old Time Southern Publishing Company or something. But anyway, I've been also watching how America First, and then beyond that, all the Oregon Patriot people doing great, doing fantastically. In fact, they are all staying on course, staying on track, and being basically staying vocal. And it's working. They are attracting attention, and they are attracting the right kind of attention. And I'm glad about it. I'm glad that it's working. Because more and more, Dr. Steve Turley has to point out the popularity grows incrementally all the time, and that you have to track it through lots of different measures. And one of the main ones is the fear that Democrats have that they are losing popularity among a wide variety of constituencies. They are very, very concerned that they are losing popularity among Latinos. And this was something I thought I had to agree with Styx, that I knew Nick was seeing Chicago, and he was seeing what was happening with, like, say, Chicago Mexicans. But it to me, it was like, no. Styx and I have had experience in places where Mexicans have settled for over 200 years. And I mean really what we think of as Mexicans. Where you have people that for 100 years, their last name has been Gallegos, not Gallegos. And when you think about it, you're looking at this person and you're going, oh yes, that the last name is Gallegos. I could totally see it, but this person has lived north of that region for so long. They look like anybody in this region, and their last name is now Gallegos. And that is starting to shine through, what that means. And it was something that, especially, I kind of thought it was interesting because Nick comes out of the Catholic community after I did, after a lot of things changed. And people becoming American as Catholics is super normal. Putting the old country behind, super normal. It was weird to older Catholics, like ethnic politics was weird to older Catholics when I was young. Like, so the rap music and its ethnic politics were frowned upon, because that kind of thing was divisive to the Catholic body that was multiracial, multi-ethnic, and multinational, growing up where I did. And so and that's also, I think, where I get some of this idea of a sense of trying to unite people along something like the ideals we all like, and that which we don't like, and that which we do like. But so I was starting to think through. The press hates the America First movement. America hates the BLM movement, and for good reason. And the beauty of this is it's only going in 10 years. There's going to be people who they didn't see this, but they are going to see the internet because it's forever. They are going to see the riots, and they're going to be like, what was this about? And instead, that's what these motherfuckers do. And all these other people helped them. Never fucking forget that. And do not forgive it. They need to be punished. And that's it. And it's going to divide society. And the baby boomers are going to go to their graves not understanding this. But oh boy, will their kids. Oh boy, will their fucking millennial kids understand. The Zoomers are going to be a major part of the punishing. And it's going to come. Because there's we can't have like, oh, FDR and the New Deal, water under the bridge, don't trip. It was a takeover of the government that we had to change the Constitution for. But I mean, come on, it had to have been good. A bunch of old fucks think it's great. Before the internet, when they didn't have the information to weigh the evidence, they thought it was fucking genius. So it's water under the bridge. Always forgive. Just forget. Don't worry about it. Oh no, none of that's going to happen anymore. No, none of that. And it's starting to also show that the support for Eastern Europe that's happening. Yeah, don't let those Muslims in. Don't forgive what they did. They're gonna do it again. What the fuck are you thinking? Of course they will. Like, that's what it says in the Quran. That's what it says to do in the Hadiths. That's what it says he did in the Sunnah. And so now it's beautiful. We get to watch the shit lib oldies watch it die. That's really one of the best parts about this suffering is, and people should, there should be a mimetic way of pushing people's nose in it. I mean, there really should be an effort to be like, and let me make sure you understand how much fuck you we have to go around. And then lastly, one of the things that was really hitting me is and the last part of never forgetting or forgiving these fucking people is the exemplar Glass Joe, talking about how what he needs, we all just need to sacrifice more because there's a bunch of old fucks. And the old fucks, it's hard to be a pimp. Pimping out your kids, pimping out generations, and, oh no. A generation gets cheap retirement homes. I mean, and it really is that the young right has to start girding themselves for this. That in the back of your mind, you must at all times be like, the old get no forgiveness. It's going to be incumbent upon somebody like of my generation to be like, oh no, this isn't going to be cool for me, but we're going to have to do this because we owe the next generation. We owe them, we owe them this. We owe them, this lack of debt. We owe them this. That the former generation left us the fun and good times and the boom, the boon times that came up. And one of the things that they did is they decided that that you didn't need any standards of behavior anymore, and that without the old vote, without the old liberal vote, the old people voting liberal, you could not have the disorder that you're having. Without these people voting in socialists, this isn't just the young vote. This isn't just the black vote. These are old liberals, and they've and the whole, you got to let the government shut down. Like, that's the new norm. Republicans shut the government down. That has to be the new norm for Republicans. Republicans also have to start attacking the federal unions and just hammer and tongs. None of this, where it's this mealy-mouthed arguments about some kind of high principle and government unions, where approach it as, this is syndicalization. That's what the fascists did. We've now seen it in action through all these fucking riots. More than enough fuck you to go around. We pay you. That's it. No, we fucking pay you. Womp womp, niggers. And that's what you're gonna have to do. Because, people aren't going to get this until they realize, no, we've caught on to what you're up to. And now it's the punitive phase. You wanted to punish us. You wanted to mess with us. You wanted to investigate us. Now we don't give you money. And that's it. And you do it as if you were honest people who did good things, giving you money for what you would like might be a good thing. But we know you're bad people who will use the government to actually attack us, and you want to take our children and do strange shit to them. You all have indicated you want to actually hurt people who don't believe in what you believe in politically. No, raise your own fucking money. And so the abandoning of sole proprietor taxation, boom, that's the code. Pro men, that's pro man, that's man. That's men looking out for men. Keep your money, gentlemen. Sole proprietors no longer have federal taxation. Rioting is always punished. Rioting is rioting. You start making up laws that say you can't disguise yourself in public. We bring back the anti-mask laws that defended blacks and poor whites from intimidation from the Klan. That's what you do. And you make it know the only reason why people would wear these masks is because they're being criminal. And that they actually would have to explain to some police officer that they have some perfectly good reason for wearing this mask. Because all of this happened because of Ferguson. Because people were wearing masks in Ferguson because it was cold outside and they shouldn't have been allowed to wear masks. And it was because it was black Americans, and black Americans are like children, and so you can't punish childlike people with their silly, savage brains. And, with their Bantu grassland reject brains, and it's, they're like, my mouth is cold, and my fists, I need to beat somebody up for something, and need to commit some crime too, but anyway. So these are just some thoughts about the division in our society is now pretty much complete. It's the bifurcation is only going to keep happening. My whole thing is I'm still one of these people. I'm sunny all the time. My thing is it's like no. I've really come to this where I'm like, oh no, a bunch of these motherfuckers are going to beg for order. It's who are they going to beg? What kind of order are they going to beg for? That's the whole deal. What kind of order will they beg for? But they will beg for order. I mean, it's already starting. They're already starting to see the way that the numbers are trending for voting, how the Democrats are tripping out. And what it is that Republicans need to get, you want behavior to improve, you need to take things away. And so you need to take away all the federal handouts that are keeping so many cities and so many programs going, and people actually have to become earners and become doers and make stuff happen. And like unlike the school teachers can't make it happen. They can't make the math happen. They can't make the grammar happen. And so we need to punish them. We need to punish them by allowing people to take their money and go to educational institutions or get educational resources that they could actually learn math and grammar. And that's it. I mean, it's beautiful because there's not a way around it anymore. The hardest part that I've been thinking about is really trying to get people to wrap their mind around how they've been taken by this idea, the genomics industry, this industry that's starting to get everybody's genetics into a library, and that everybody thinks they're being tested for some deadly virus, but they know they're being tested with what it would take to log your genetics, because that's what PCR testing is. Now, the beautiful part about this is I keep having to bring up to people about genomics. And then I tell them, go onto Facebook, just type the word into the search bar, and you'll find an endless number of companies that are all in on this. And that this is an area of medicine that with this many companies, with Microsoft itself being funded by the CIA to do genetic research and future genetic research, so that you have what's called data-driven medicine, such as Face2 Gene and all that getting people really to understand this. Because like I had some person like kind of pipe in, I could tell she was one of these mutant people, mutant rainbow, and she was a mutant rainbow. It was, somebody who did something has all these weird behaviors, has all kinds of weird problems, needs lots of medicine all the time, and is very rather hefty, and so when I brought up genomics, this person chimed in like sort of like they really understood where this was going to go, and I was like, you would be one of these people that would be logged, so that a lot of what a lot of your genetics could be analyzed for the negatives, you know? Like, I was thinking about it. Like, I'm like, you're an example of what people wouldn't want to breed. And then I'm getting it. Like, I'm like, no. A lot of the kookiest kooknards of the left end of culture, especially like rainbow dorks. Rainbow dork people think that they're so enlightened that they're of some kind of different, maybe genetic class. When they don't understand, are you diminutive and do you look like shit? Are you ugly? You know, like, because smarts, good, and a lot of good psychic traits all correlate naturally through breeding with tallness and even features. And so what started to hit me was all this hit at once. And I was like, this is a person has the nadir of genomics knowledge. They are who would be eliminated by genomics. And they think that they are some kind of special motherfucker. And it was kind of fascinating. It was kind of one of these moments where it all hit, where I could just tell. I could just tell what was about to happen. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to just let that roll around in the back of my mind, and I'm going to wait. This is why I wanted to bring this one up. Actually, I had thought about this. It's like, this is one to bring up and see what happens. Because I'm thinking, when Democrats, progressives, and the left understand what the genomics industry is, they will completely misinterpret it and see it as something that's about them being superior. They won't see it for what it is, and it's going to be kind of fascinating. Yeah, and I think it will immediately change the way a lot of black people start understanding their relationship to white liberals and the government. I think there's going to be a lot of black people who are going to be like, holy shit. And then, you know, and of course, being that this is old news, they're going to be, oh shit, the white man be up to so much stuff, man. You know, what'd he be up to? And it be like, and so it's going to be very, very interesting in my view that when that hits, because to me, that's the reason why we're not hearing much about Bill Gates and his connection to the Wuji app and then the various industries in Wuhan that were genetics industries that are linked to Microsoft via Qualcomm and the CIA. It's going to be a while. It's still going to be a while because people want to believe their bullshit. They just want to believe. They like Fox Mulder. They want to believe in themselves. So it's going to be a little while longer. But I think that's going to truly like mess with the in ways that I can't imagine right now. Like this idea of knowing that the government is involved in trying to do something at the genetic level with the population. And that there's no way this can't be what's going on anymore. You know, that once it only takes looking at the Microsoft genomics page and an 8th grade education for, you know, maybe at another time to understand, no, this is the government having some kind of program to understand the nature of genetics and medicine without really disclosing that they're doing this with and to the public. And yeah, that the idea of and that more and more courts are saying people don't have body autonomy. That if everybody's panicked, if everybody's afraid of a virus that we don't have much data on, it is perfectly fine to violate people's most fundamental rights and their body autonomy. They shouldn't be able to work if they're not receiving experimental injections at the government's behest. Like, we're really starting to see it. That really Democrats are these people who are the reason you have a constitutional republic the way we have it. These are the people who would always tyrannize others. They would always try to dominate other people. The minute they get power, they cannot be trusted. So there's no forgiveness. Never forget and never, ever forgive.